Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Arthur Schaefer, and I have another wonderful guest that's joining us today. We have John Weiner that's going to join us in just a moment. You know what? Without further ado, let's just bring John out. John, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing fine, everything considered with the COVID, but we're doing good.
I'm happy to hear that. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, I'm an attorney. My main office is in Oakland. We also have an office in Woodland Hills, and we have law offices throughout the state of California. We specialize in sexual abuse, sexual harassment cases, also very serious personal injury cases and wrongful death cases. But the primary practice is clergy abuse and other forms of sexual abuse.
Oh, wow. And has, your ability to, do these types of trials, have they been affected because of COVID?
Yeah, there's still, as far as I know, in the entire state of California, there's still no civil case that's gone to trial since February. So all of those cases have become pushed back. We still make efforts in the appropriate cases to try to reach a settlement in the cases, and occasionally we can still do that. But COVID has made it more difficult. We haven't been in either of our main offices for the last 4 months or 5 months. But we have Zoom meetings, and a lot of the things that we could do in the office, we can also do on Zoom.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, what made you pursue this type of profession? Has this been something you've always been interested in, or is it something you kind of gravitated towards into adulthood?
No, I've always been interested in being a lawyer. There was a show, I'm 66 now, when I was about 10 or 11, there was a show called The Young Lawyers, and I think they were criminal defense lawyers, but I wanted to be like them. I also grew up in New Haven, Connecticut at a time of basically revolutionary actions. The Black Panther cases were in New Haven. There's a lot of demonstrations, and even as a 14-year-old, I used to take part in those. I care a great deal about social justice, and have decided to focus my cases on social justice cases.
That's beautiful. That is truly beautiful. And what type of background does someone need to do what it is that you do?
Well, I mean, most of my clients have psychological injuries, so it helps to have some background in psychology. I have nothing more than taking some courses, but over the 40 years, I've read a lot of books, so I understand the psychology of sexual abuse and how it affects people, how it creates shame, and different kinds of very serious mental disorders, mostly post-traumatic stress disorders, which can last and often do last an entire lifetime.
Wow. So when you're dealing with people with these, conditions, how do you address them? Or is it something that when you first confront them regarding the topics that's at hand, are you more subtle with it? Or is it something you just, get straight to the point, more abrupt with?
Right. We get to the point in the sexual harassment and sexual abuse cases. A lot of times our clients are hesitant to use swear words or words that they think are impolite that were used against them. And I encourage people to be completely honest. We talk about things bluntly. Hopefully I do it with some care. I do try to assess how psychologically able a person is to come forward. I certainly don't want to bring a case for somebody and have the litigation make their mental disorder any worse. So I try to figure out if we're going to win the case, if there's going to be the opportunity to win a substantial verdict or settlement in the case, and I try to also assess how the potential client will do in a case or in a trial. My wife is 53 years old. I have daughters who are 30, 26, and 15 years old, and I often think about when I'm talking to the client and we're deciding how to proceed, how I would personally want to proceed if my wife or one of my daughters were sexually abused, and whether I would want them to come forward and go through litigation, which can be stressful, although it is almost always empowering, especially if you win.
Wow. And how can my audience, get in touch with you regarding your services?
We have two websites. One is sexualharassment.com. The other is WM, as in Mary's Lawyers, LAWYERS.com. They could call 510-433-1000 for our Oakland office, and eventually I will learn about their case. We usually have a intake person who graduated law school and is very familiar with the law, who does the initial interview. I can't possibly we get about 70, 80 inquiries about cases a week. There's no way I would be able to do all those intakes personally and still be able to practice law. But if the case appears to be good, I do a follow-up, and then we invite the person for either now a Zoom intake or normally into the office.
Okay. Thank you for, coming on and, spending time with us and having this conversation. A lot of people are in situations where they need help, especially during this time period. So, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think it's important work that we do, and I think a lot of people try to hide their feelings and are ashamed of being abused, but coming forward can really help end the cycle of abuse.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. And for everyone else, stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right.